It's looking increasingly likely that we may be seeing either a tropical storm or a hurricane as we head into next week somewhere in the southeast, especially along the Gulf Coast. And one of the models this morning is showing a stronger storm in comparison to the other models. We're talking about a hurricane that could be dangerous, potentially hitting the US. So make sure that you stay tuned because later on in the video, we are going to be getting into that and what that means at this point in time. All right, you guys, happy Thursday morning. And yeah, it's bright and early here, and I have all the latest in terms of the models, all the models fresh off the press so that we can go ahead and take a look at what we're seeing when it comes to the system. If you don't know who I am, I'm Jessica Fernandez, a meteorologist for over 7 years working mainly on TV news. And I've worked locally, nationally, and now I created this YouTube channel so that we can go ahead and get into all things weather across the US and weather in the tropics. So for my friends in the Caribbean as well, whenever you guys are facing a tropical threat, tropical storm, hurricane, tropical depression, I will be breaking that down for you guys as well. Fortunately, though, I think that we won't be seeing much in the way of tropical impacts here of a named system. I think that this is more of a worry and something that we need to watch more so here in the US. All right, you guys. Let's go ahead and take a look at what we're seeing here. This is the outlook area. It's shifted a lot more towards the west in comparison to the last couple of days here. Not too long ago, this was mainly showing that we could be seeing impacts more so up here into Georgia and the Carolinas. And the only outlier or model that was showing more of a westerly track was the American model. But now the other models are starting to come into agreement with more of this westerly shift that we may be seeing here. So, we have to get into this, you guys. This also no longer includes the majority of the Bahamas. Some of the islands, yes, are included in this, but before it included basically all of the Bahamas. That's not the case anymore. It's mainly Cuba and the state of Florida. And like I said, I think mainly the Gulf of Mexico in the Sunshine State could be seeing the impacts. But again, we need to be alert across the entire Southeast, you guys. We're still a ways away from something actually forming, and a lot can change as we've seen, okay, very recently with all the changes in the models. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the satellite data overnight. And here we go, goes 16 here. We're going to go ahead and loop a couple of hours here of what we've been seeing overnight. Big change in comparison to what we saw just a couple of days ago. Barely any activity now. Obviously, we've been seeing impacts here in the Caribbean. And right now, it seems like in terms of the islands, at least in the overnight hours, getting impacts has been mainly Puerto Rico, but obviously in the Lesser Antilles, right? We've been seeing some impacts as well throughout the day on Wednesday. So we have to go ahead and continue, obviously, monitoring this very closely. But like I said, in the Caribbean, I don't foresee this really being an issue in terms of a named system. Now, obviously, things change as we head into the US. So let's go ahead and talk about that and talk about what's the latest that the National Hurricane Center is saying here. So, this is as of 2 a.m. this morning, Thursday, August 1st. A well-defined tropical wave is producing a large area of disorganized showers and thunderstorms over Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, and the northern Leeward Islands, as we just saw, and the adjacent waters of the southwestern Atlantic and northeastern Caribbean Sea. Development of this system is unlikely during the next couple of days, which is why in the Caribbean I'm saying you guys are safe while it moves west-northwest over portions of the greater Antilles. However, environmental conditions are forecast to be more conducive for development after the wave passes the greater Antilles, and a tropical depression could form this weekend or early next week over the eastern Gulf of Mexico or far southwestern Atlantic Ocean, including the vicinity of Florida. Interest in the greater Antilles, Bahamas, and Florida should continue to monitor the progress of the system. So yeah, we're still keeping our eye on this. If we live in places like the Bahamas, if we are, Cuba, for example, even Hispaniola, just keep an eye on it. But like I said, this is mainly going to be something that in this region could be forming, you guys. So that is what we're seeing in terms of the changes of the chances here. Not too much, obviously a 60% chance still. But the only difference here is that in the next 2 days, they are now saying that there is now a 10% chance. All right, guys. So that is what we're seeing this morning. Let's go ahead and go back to what we're seeing here in the Caribbean, but not only the Caribbean. Now I want to show you guys these warm waters because things are going to become a lot more favorable in terms of development, as they were mentioning. And a part of that is these very warm waters that we have in the Gulf. So now, since we are turning towards the Gulf for the potential of formation, take a look at the 91 degrees, the water temperature in Louisiana. That is just like shocking. I am not going to lie, you guys. So 89, 88, 86, as you can see here, that is so hot, relatively speaking, you guys. And that serves as fuel for any tropical system. Okay, you guys. So that is what we're seeing here this morning. Let's get into some of the models here. I'm going to show you all the different models that we've been talking about over the past couple of days here on my channel. Let's go ahead and go back to the web. We're going to come over here to pivotal weather here as it goes ahead and loads up. I want to load the European model and see what exactly they are expecting here in terms of the latest model run. Okay, you guys. So let's go ahead and talk about this because obviously we have some changes here recently when it comes to that westerly track. And I will say that the European model is showing something a bit different here with this latest model run. It is kind of showing here that we will be obviously getting something into the Gulf, like I mentioned. This, if we take a pause here, this would be next Thursday of next week. But it's just kind of showing that this kind of hangs out over the Gulf here where it says L, kind of hangs out over the Gulf, meanders a lot, doesn't really make up its mind of where it's going to go. And that's already through the end of next week. Okay, you guys. So that's what the Euro is saying right now. Not a super strong system here when it comes to the European model. So that's what the Euro is saying. Let's go ahead and take a look. Before we look at the American model, I want to show you guys the latest Canadian model and the icon model. Why not? This right here would be the Canadian model, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it is. All right, so as we move forward in time, something comes up here. This would be this Sunday, something already named according to the Canadian model here. Okay, then we move forward in time, and this could be a strong or just a tropical storm, right? Moving here, I should say, instead of strong, I wouldn't say strong, but I would say definitely a tropical storm coming into the Gulf Coast of Florida here, Panhandle region, and that would be early next week, you guys. So that is what we're seeing here. And then it pulls towards the northeast and then moves over Georgia as well as the Carolinas. If we go ahead and take a look at the icon, we're seeing something similar as well. This is just another model that we're taking a look at to see what it thinks is going to happen here. So we move forward in time. Something forms this Sunday. We move forward. This is showing something a little bit more towards the southeast here in the Big Bend region of the state of Florida. Again, nothing too crazy. Tropical storm moving in here, then pulling towards the northeast, just like the Canadian model said. So now I want to show you guys the GFS model. The GFS model is the American model. This is showing something else. It's kind of picking up on that meandering motion that the European was kind of picking up on, but it is making it a much stronger system in comparison to these other models here. So as we move forward in time here with the GFS, right? This is Sunday. We already have something potentially right here in this region, potentially named. Then it moves up to the north, starts to get really strong. When we see a lot of rings around the center here, that means it's getting stronger. When this number right here, the pressure in the center is getting lower and lower, that means that this is getting stronger. It hangs out right here along the Florida Panhandle here, gets even stronger as it moves to the south. Again, this is already Thursday of next week, you guys. So take this with a grain of salt, okay? Then we continue 949. All right, then we're talking about a hurricane that could be potentially dangerous here as we head into the end of the week. sorry, this fast forwarded out of nowhere. Then it shows landfall potentially in Mississippi for next Friday. Okay, what does this mean? Like I said, we're taking this with a grain of salt. Why? Because we know that something so far in advance, you guys, we're talking about something that is a little over a week away from now, is not that reliable, you guys. We have to wait until something forms. We have to wait until we get closer. Please don't think that this is exactly what is going to happen. It's what the model is showing at this time. But as we can see, models change and they change very, very, very often. So, like I said, this is something that we are watching, but it's not necessarily what is going to happen. As you can see, all the other models are showing something else, a much weaker system potentially moving into the Gulf Coast. So, let's go ahead and summarize what we are expecting here when it comes to this, because obviously with all this information we need to know uh, what can we expect, what should we do at this point. At this point, I don't think anybody should be freaking out here. I think that we just need to go ahead and monitor this because so much can change and likely will change, you guys. So as we take a look at this area of interest here, what I would say is if you live along the Gulf Coast, definitely pay close attention. If you live along the Southeast as well, places like Georgia, the Carolinas as well, I would also be watching this just because as you could see there is, the tendency to move towards the Northeast there as we head into that time frame after potential landfall here. So we're watching, we're not freaking out. We know that so much can change here, you guys. So we have to be on alert across the entire Southeast. I would definitely say state of Florida, regardless of if you live in the North or in the South, watching this very closely and obviously staying tuned to my channel to see what ends up happening. But it seems like we might have something already named potentially by the end of this week or into early next week. Then after that, we just have to wait and see what ends up happening. So here on my channel, I'm going to have all the latest information for you guys. So make sure that you stay tuned. Make sure that you subscribe. And guys, if you watched through the end of the video, let me know in the comments, and also if you feel so inclined, go ahead and leave me a like if you can as well. Let me know how your Thursday is going. Let me know where you live. And that way I can keep up on who's watching me, what areas I should focus on, you guys. And I hope that you guys have a great rest of your Thursday.